Hi there. So this is part number 2 of July. What day is it here? I don't even know. Of July, where is the map? July 8th. Once again, we have difficulty at the church with the Wi-Fi, and it just shut off. But fortunately, we were just ready to take our break, so you didn't miss anything by the closing down of the meeting. So we left off on paragraph 4, workbook lesson number 68. And in that paragraph, I think I already read this, but we will reread it. Perhaps you do not think you can let your grievances go. And certainly letting go of all our grievances, especially if he says love holds no grievances, seems like an absolute impossibility from where we're sitting. And yet we're asked to do our best in this moment. And when we're willing to offer to release that grievance to be healed. But if you aren't ready, then you aren't ready. You just keep holding on until you do. But eventually there will come a point where, number one, your motivation will be there. Number two, the pain of holding on just won't be worth the value that we hold at this time. Then he goes on to say that, however, is simply a matter of motivation. So when we truly want just what this offered, and we're willing to let go of all the grievances that this thought system holds, this will be ours. But we don't have a clue as to how addicted to this we really are. And that's where the real challenge lies. And as we say so often, you don't want to judge yourself if you still find yourself over here, but keep taking the strides to bring yourself over here as you are directed to do so. All right, so then we are going to go to paragraph number 6. And I guess I would say I'm very taken with this paragraph. And actually, in the class, as it went on when you weren't there, I didn't read the whole class, but I really think that I will. Before we get there, let's go back to paragraph number 5, line number 4, where it says it was quick. You're supposed to be reviewing your grievances, and you're supposed to, in this particular practice period, you're supposed to think of somebody you really have an issue with, and then think of people that you think you love, and everything is going well in that relationship. But if you're really honest, you will recognize that even in those better or more comfortable relationships, there are certainly grievances that do pop up. And a good example is your children. You might say, but I love my children. But there are times when those kids just would drive you crazy. So what he's saying is it will quickly become apparent that there is no one against whom you do not cherish grievances of some sort. And I would also say that there are certain relationships that are just like oil and vinegar. The moment you're in that same room with that person, the flames start coming up. And some relationships you can work on these and heal them more quickly, but some of them are very long standing. In fact, I think it's it might be in the workbook lesson, I'm not sure, that or the teacher's manual, where there's a section that talks about the 3 levels of relationship. And one is, somebody you meet in an elevator and a little child starts to cry and you smile at them. That would be a connecting relationship. Another one might be where you go to, you're in the same class as somebody for many years in a row, but then you part ways. And then it talks about the third type of relationship. And this type of relationship is a relationship where it explains that this is a long-lasting, oftentimes lifetime relationship. But it also explains that sometimes these relationships can be the most challenging relationships that you have. But if you think about this from the perspective of The only way I know what's going on in my mind is by the fact that something or someone or a situation in my life can take my peace away. Because the way we did this is we had this thought here, and then we projected it into the world, and we drew this line of amnesia so that we would forget what's taking place in here. So anytime we are triggered by any incident that takes place in our world and we lose our peace, it's a reminder that you're aligned with this. So as the Course says, this situation, person, circumstances is actually our salvation. Because if we understand what the Course is saying and apply that, we recognize that when this triggers me, it represents that I'm aligned with this. And as I become aware of that information, then I do have the choice to choose again. As long as it's taking place right here, we have absolutely no recourse. So use these grievances, use these experiences that appear to be coming from somewhere else. And as we read so often, or we talk so often about the idea of I'm never upset for the reason I think I'm upset from what this person said or didn't say or did or didn't do, or some circumstances that's happened in the government, whatever it means that appears to be out of my control. And that's saying, yes, it appears you're upset by this, but what's really happening is this incident is triggering the memory that you chose to separate from God. We all collectively did, but each one of us have this format within our mind that we each individually have to now process through. But whatever it represents that this part of the mind is engaged, because if you're over here and that other person did exactly the same thing that they did over here, it would not take your peace away. And it wouldn't just be like, oh, I'm not upset, but I really am. I'm really, cringing inside. You literally won't have the experience of that within you. And I so often, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the first part of the tape, but whatever, you're hearing it again. The concept of Jesus dying on the cross in the Course. Jesus was here. People were doing horrible, terrible, awful things to him, but he was totally aligned with the thought of oneness. So he saw his brothers, the ones that appeared to be attacking him, as the same as him, not as different from him, and in oneness rather than in duality. All right, so everybody is a problem that everybody will bring those grievances to us, and he keeps saying these words. That we cherish these grievances, because the only way I can keep this thought system going is if I cherish these grievances. And in order for me to be an innocent victim, I have to have a perpetrator. So even though I, as Marianne, will say, I don't want that to be happening, on some level, I cherish this conflict because this keeps the illusion going. Now, me coming up to realize that if I'm seeing this or experiencing this, it's coming from this choice. It allows me then to make another choice. But if I don't want to make that choice because I want to remain special and individual and different, then I don't really want to know what's going on here. All right, so paragraph number 6. Determine now to see all these people as friends. And I'm going to read this paragraph and we'll go line by line. Say to them all, thinking of each one in turn as you do so, I would see you as my friend, that I may remember you are part of me and come to know myself. Spend the remainder of this practice period trying to think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone and everything, safe in a world that protects you and loves you, and that you love in return. Try to feel safety surrounding you, hovering over you and holding you up. Try to believe, however briefly, that nothing can harm you in any way, At the end of the practice period, tell yourself, love holds no grievances. When I let go of all my grievances, I will know I am perfectly safe. So the question, line number 1, determine now to see all these people as friends. Are you ready? Are you willing to even open to the possibility of seeing this irritant called my grievance maker? Are you willing to see them as your friend? Are you even an inkling willing to have that experience happen? And, I can just share with you, these concepts are equally as difficult for me to work with as they are for you. It's not easy, especially in the midst of your conflict. The last thing in the world we want is somebody to whisper in my ear, do you want them to be your friend? Because the answer right then usually is not going to be yes. It's going to be no. I want to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to prove that you are wrong. And that's why it's so important in this course not to brush these feelings aside. Start with the recognition that I really do have an issue with this person, and the way I'm sitting right now, it appears that they're my problem, and there's just no other way of looking at it. I'm fine. I'm an innocent victim. They're the problem. If I could just get rid of that, I'd be okay. But as we talked about Helen at the beginning, where she wanted Jesus to take her fear away, what that would be is get rid of this. But that wouldn't solve the problem, because if this is engaged, another this will present itself. So what we need to do is get to the cause, heal the cause, and then the effect will simply heal itself, because I'll now be on this side and I will see through the lens of love instead of seeing through the lens of the opposite. All right, so again, determine now to see all these people as friends. And this takes a little bit of what I'd call spiritual maturity, because am I willing that is simply, completely, absolutely what I want? Say to them all, thinking of each one in turn as you do so, I would see you as my friend, that I may remember you are a part of me and come to know myself. Because you see, I can't know my brother, God, or myself as long as I'm aligned with the ego. It is only when I step over here that I can know myself as truth, know you as truth, and know God through the lens of truth. And so, dropping this story, being willing to drop this story and have him show you or replace that story with the answer, means I win. I don't lose. But as long as I think I want to be an individual, special, right, and different, then I honor this more than I do this. I would see you as my friend, that I may remember you are part of me and come to know myself. And quite literally, these two characters are coming from this mind, and this mind is aligned with the ego, if this is the side of the chart we're living on. So literally, it's not a problem about myself versus the other characters in the dream. It's about the fact that this is what's engaged. And Jesus is trying to tell this over and over and over. And that's why I'm emphasizing this so strongly, because until we get what the cause is, we're not going to heal the cause. All right, spend the remainder. And again, do I want to know that my brother is part of me and that I know myself? Just literally, we've put a mask on our brother and said that he's the bad guy and I'm the good guy, when in essence, we're both good guys, because none of this is who we really are. Spend the remainder of the practice period trying to think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone and everything, safe in a world that protects you and loves you and that you love in return. Now think about those words. Those are just so delicious. They're so beautiful. They're so wonderful. You know, I'm going to read it again. Spend the remainder of the practice period trying to think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone, everything, safe in a world that protects you and loves you and that you love in return, versus a world where we're vulnerable. I mean, like 24 hours a day, someone can break into my house. I could get a call from somebody that there's a problem. I mean, totally vulnerable 24 hours a day. And even in our night dreams, we're vulnerable to what happens there as well. That's the price we're paying to align with the ego and to continue to perpetuate that. Try to feel safety surrounding you, hovering over you, and holding you up. Try to believe, however briefly, that nothing can harm you in any way. Well, you know, we can't even imagine that, right? Spider could come up and bite me. I mean, the list of possibilities of insanity is just goes on and on and on. But is this what you want versus having a constant, perpetual perpetrator? Is that what you really want? Because that is going to be the result of having chosen for separation. It's a no-brainer. It comes automatically. You know, but can I give us an example? Nothing's coming to me, but you know, when you buy the product, you get the whole deal with it. And buying the product of the ego comes with this as an effect, just like it comes with all these attributes instead of all these attributes. It comes with the order. All right. At the end of the practice period, tell yourself, love holds no grievances. When I let all of my grievances go, I will know I am perfectly safe. And I just want to put out a challenge to you. I'm putting this challenge to myself. My thinking is that I'm going to really work on this paragraph, and I'm going to work on it for an extended period of time because I really want to get to the bottom of this. And my challenge to myself is to review the day every night before I go to bed and make a list of all those people and situations and grievances that have come up during my day. And I'm going to challenge myself to process through this. Am I determined to see all these people as friends? So I give that challenge to you as well, to do with it as you wish. But for me, that's my commitment to myself, at least for a couple of weeks, and see how that works out. All right, so finally, the short practice period should include a quick application of today's idea in this form whenever any thought of grievance rises against anyone, physically present or not. And it's important to know that when it's saying physically present or not, the person could be in the room with you, the person could not be in the room with you. In fact, the person could have been dead for 20 years. It's any grievance that comes forth that reminds you of anything that brings a lack of peace. So he's saying anytime that happens, and if you're like me, it's going to be quite frequently. It's not just going to be a 1-minute deal here and there. If I'm really honest, it's popping up quite frequently in my experience. So what you're being asked to do is remind yourself that love holds no grievances. Let me not betray myself. And again, the way I'm betraying myself is I'm seeing myself as something other than who I really am, as well as my brother, and again, as well as God. In addition, repeat the idea several times an hour in this form. Love holds no grievances. I would wake to myself, capital S, by laying all my grievances aside and wakening in him. So again, am I willing to lay all my grievances aside so that I can awaken to my true self? And this is the gift you give to yourself when you relinquish the hold that the guilt and the grievances hold. And this doesn't mean that you don't spend time kicking and screaming and being angry and upset and irritated and how dare they, and so on and so forth. In fact, the Course would say, really examine what has been set up and go through the process of that. But then when you have come to the point where you realize that's not really what I want to do anymore, then are you willing to relinquish the hold that that thought system has on you to find out what the truth or the light that God has for you? All right, so let's progress to workbook number 69, and you will see a pattern here. There are a number of workbook lessons that are fairly close together that Jesus kind of harps on these themes of this idea of the grievance. So workbook number 69, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. Whoa. So again, my grievances hold the, hide the light of the world that's in me, because this is all I see in me, but this is what the grievances are hiding. The truth, the light is in there, but I have to remove the grievances, or I should better say, I have to be willing to allow the grievances to be healed so that I know who I am. No one can look upon what your grievances conceal, because your grievances are hiding the light of the world in you. Everyone, and I'll just stop right there for a moment. So again, as long as I hold these, I can't know this. Okay, I can't know that. And if I want to know this, I have to be willing to let this sit for a moment. And again, Jesus is only asking for this moment, this willingness. Are you willing to drop it? Even if you pick it back up in the next moment, are you willing in this moment to drop it? And literally every single time that's done, this is getting stronger, this is getting weaker, because right now this is stronger, this is weaker. And again, not because the truth is weak, it's because we have covered over the truth and we can experience it. We may peak a little bit once in a while, but this is still heavier. All right. Because your grievances are hiding the light of the world in you, everyone stands in darkness and you beside them. Because both my brother and I are encapsulated in the story of the ego. And as long as that's the case, we will see everything, as it says, everyone stands in darkness and you beside it. This is the price you pay having chosen for the ego. But as the veil of your grievances is lifted, you are released with him. I'll finish this and start reading it again. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. He is your brother in the light of the world that saves you both. All right. But as the veil of your grievances is lifted, you are released with him. So I see him as the problem. When I release him and I let go of this, I align with this, and then I automatically see myself as healed, see my brother as healed. This is automatic. Just like this is automatic when we're aligned with the ego. When I choose for truth, that automatically heals. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. And why would Jesus say that? Because if we're not in heaven, we're in hell. You know, the Course goes so far as to say what is not love is hate. We're living in hate, only we don't realize we're living in hate, because within the aspect of the ego or hate, there appears to be aspects that are nice and aspects that are negative, but literally they're all the same. Some of them just appear to be a little bit nicer, but in truth, the answer lies in the relinquishment of all the stories you have. And then you see the light instead of the darkness, even though parts of it appear a little bit lighter. All right, so I'm going to read that again. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. And again, if we really got that not only do I put my brother in hell, I put myself in hell because I perpetuate the belief in separation, which is hell, because it's the opposite of what truth is. And you know, sometimes I joke around and say, if this was a pile of poop and this was a pile of whipped cream, and you really, really, really liked whipped cream, the question is, why do we keep choosing this? And the reason is because of my strong investment in this, my addiction to this. And there are still aspects of us that still want to be right, special, different, and God. And as long as any of those are in place, they will override our choice to come back to our truth. But as he's saying, this will take you out of hell. All right, he is your brother in the light of the world that saves you both. So again, do I want to live in darkness or do I want to live in light? Darkness, light, you know, it's like going to the eye doctor, and you go to the eye doctor and they're, you know, flipping the little vision things. Well, do you like this better, or do you like this better? Or do you like this better, or do you like this better? And when we really like this better, we're going to throw this one away. But there's still apparently things that hold us here, or we wouldn't be in this experience. All right, so we're going to move on to paragraph number 9. In the shorter practice periods, which you will want to do as often as possible in view of the importance of today's ideas to you and your happiness, remind yourself that your grievances are holding the light of the world from your awareness. Remind yourself also that you are not searching for it alone, and that you do know where to look for it. Say then, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. I cannot see what I have hidden, yet I want to let it be revealed to me for my salvation and the salvation of the world. Also be sure to tell yourself, if I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. If you are tempted to hold anything against anyone today. Whew, again, very potent, very, pretty amazing here. And this is a gift that we are offering to ourselves that is also expressed to my brother. And somebody in the class asked the question, but when I'm going to have to be healed or nice or coming from that place in order to express this to my brother. And see, the deal is when you let this go and you choose this, you're aligning with love. And then you would automatically express love to your brother. You could not express anything but love. And, I give that example of being squeezed. And if you're love, what comes out, it would be love. And if you get squeezed and something other than love comes out, it means you're aligned with the ego. So when you're over here, no matter what you do or say or how you act, it's going to be coming from love. And you will be an automatic expression of that love. Now, I remember Ken saying that you could stand up and read the names out of a telephone book and you would be speaking from pure love because your mind is aligned with that love. And again, the example of Jesus dying on the cross from the perspective of the Course. Horrible, terrible, awful things were being done to him. But his mind was aligned with truth, and he held firm to that truth. So nothing anyone said or did affected him. In fact, he saw his brother and himself as the same, which is being offered to us through the practice and the understanding of this course. But am I motivated to do this? And I think as we become more and more aware that this is not going to work, and it's never going to work, and it's always going to bring me some form of aggravation, upset, or separation, because it can't not. That's what it's made to be. All right, so in the shorter practice periods, which you will want to do as often as possible in view of the importance of today's idea I'm going to chop that up a little bit. In the shorter practice periods, which you will want to do as often as possible, if we really got that this is pain, this is relinquishment from pain, this is hate, this is love, this is hell, this is heaven. If we really got that holding on to any aspect of this is keeping me from knowing that I'm the light of the world. I mean, who would you want to be, the light of the world or some schmuck stuck in this gunk of the ego? Because that's exactly what this is. All right, so again, this workbook lesson is my grievances hide the light of the world in me. So we're saying in the shorter practice periods, you will want to do this as often as possible in view of the importance of this lesson. And that is, my grievances hide the light of the world. So I can't see this or experience the light of the world as long as I'm playing in my grievances. Important piece of information, but it's also really valuable for us to not rag on ourselves or beat ourselves up when we find ourselves playing over here or playing in the grievances game. But when you catch yourself, stop and say, wait, is that what I want to continue to do? Or do I want to step over here and have him show me what love is instead? Don't add guilt to the recognition that this is where I am, because that is what the ego would love you to do. So then you can continue to perpetuate this. And remember, we've given the ego the power to run the show. Each of us, the Son of God, when we chose that, and that's been perpetuated ever since. We've given it that power. And we can now give this that power. But anything I do to feed into this is making that perpetuate the carpet of time, roll out, whatever way you want to put it. And if that's what you want, then go for it. But if you're getting tired of that and you want to know another way, this is the way you want to go. All right, so again, the importance of the idea today and your happiness. Remind yourself that your grievances are hiding the light of the world from your awareness. Again, I wish we could, drill a hole and pour that in. That would be great. But this is a practice. And am I motivated to continue to work on this practice? Or do I want to do it on my own and be in control, which will bring the opposite? Remind yourself also that you are not searching for it alone and that you do know where to look for it. So again, asking the Holy Spirit to help you, because this is not for you to decide how to do it. It is for you to decide or recognize that you set it up, and it is you who then needs to recognize this isn't working and I'm going to relinquish my control to allow this to happen. And this is a really slippery deal here, because I can be over here and be a nice person and not attack or hate my brother and try to think of nice ways where I can see my brother in a different light. But as long as I'm doing it, I'm still over here. I literally don't know. And if you really don't know, your hands are tied and there's nowhere else to go but to the answer. But be very diligent in observing yourself. Am I really relinquishing this, or am I really working on doing this on my own, but in a subtle way? All right, so then he says, this is what you are asked to say. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. Again, do I want my grievances to be front and center, or do I want to know what the light within me is? I cannot see what I have hidden. Now, you can't see the Holy Spirit when this is being held up like this, right? And we're going to call the Holy Spirit the light in this symbolic parallel, and this the grievances. When I got that covering over it, I can't see it. It's here. It's always been here, but I can't see it or access it as long as I put this foremost in my mind. And then this is where the shift happens. Yet I want to let it be revealed to me for my salvation and the salvation of the world. That's the key that needs to be turned when I recognize my grievances. The choice for the ego is no longer bringing me what I want, because I want the peace. I want the light of the world. I don't want this any longer. And sometimes we have to get pulled down pretty deep before we can have that experience and have that reflection of light within us. I'm going to read those couple lines again. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. I cannot see what I have hidden. Yet I want to let it be revealed to me for my salvation and the salvation of the world. But also notice the words here, for my salvation as well as the salvation of the world. If I want to do this simply for me, there's no way I can come over into oneness without taking both myself and my brother with me, because my brother and I are one, and I can't leave part of oneness behind and experience oneness myself. Also, be sure to tell yourself, if I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. If you are tempted to hold anything against anyone today. And again, I can't hold it against them and be over here. These are two mutually exclusive thought systems, and there's nowhere that this one or this one cross over each other. There's a line down the middle here that keeps these from totally opposite experiences. And one thing Ken used to say is, for every moment of the day, there are two videotapes, and you could call this a videotape, this a videotape. And in order to access this videotape, I have to take this videotape out of the machine and then place this one in as its replacement. Both of them can't be in there at the same time. Again, your choice. Which do you want to do? And is, the choice for love or the choice for connection more valuable than me being right? Because again, that initial choice was, I wanted to do this on my own. I wanted to be right. I wanted to be a special. I want to be an individual. And I want to be God. And this is about, I have to be willing to drop all that. And if you're not ready to do it right now, you can ask that you become ready. So there's no moment where you don't have the option to do a little something to bring you closer to this. So again, I challenge you to work on this during the week, if that's what you choose to do, because again, literally, if I am, learning how to play tennis, I think I mentioned this earlier, if I'm learning how to play tennis and I only show up on the court once a month, I might get a little bit better, but I'm certainly not going to get great, because unless I'm, somebody that just learns things like that, which I certainly am not. So I would have to continually to keep practicing, keep doing it. And also remember, again, whether you're playing tennis or learning how to walk, you keep falling. Not one of us learned how to walk without falling many, 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 many times. And oftentimes scratching our knees and crying and bleeding and whatever it took. But we kept getting up and getting up and getting up and getting up. And that's literally the same thing. We have to just keep choosing. And if we come back down here and fall one more time, pick yourself up and choose again. That's the magic to the process of this course. The magic is keep doing it and put it into practice to the best of your ability. All right, so let us end the class here. So I'd like to have everybody please close your eyes. Take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given, and accept but this into the minds that you created and which you love. Amen. All right. So in this little prayer, a couple of lines are, the sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. And remember, forgiveness doesn't mean I'm going to forgive you for what horrible thing you did to me because I'm a better person. Forgiveness is recognizing that none of this is real and this is real. And when we awaken to that, this will disappear and we'll experience only what is true. So again, keep working on it. We'll see you again next week. Take care.